Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our first Metaverse Art Tour of 2022. My name is Ivo Haining, and we are going to New Art City and the city of Regenera with a group of amazing artists today. So I am going to take a moment just to bring our artists into the room. Hi, everybody. It's
Hello,
great
everybody.
to see you.
Hello.
Hello. We have
Everyone.
Della, Brian, and Serena will be joining us, along with a few other artists and guests who will be coming in both virtually from New Art City and through the stream here today. So, okay, we may or may not be working on Facebook, but it looks like we are working on YouTube. So we're just going to keep going with that. And hopefully those of you who are in the virtual space, feel free to chat with us. If you can see us and send us questions, we will do our best to include those questions in this art tour and in some of this experience today. I see that Julian has joined us. Hi, Julian.
Hi.
Julian, you're on mute right now, but we'll bring your sound in. Hi.
Hello, how's everyone?
All right. So these are some of the many artists that are a part of the Design Science Studio, which is a part of the Buckminster Fuller Institute. And I am hoping that some of you could take just a moment and tell us, what is Regenera? What is Regenera? What are we about to experience today?
Well, okay, can I go?
Go for it. Tell us about your work.
You know, Regenera is like the vision of the future where everything is working perfectly and peacefully, and it's the way that Buckminster Fuller saw 100% of society, you know, everything working for all of humanity and all of life. It's all working. It's just this essence, beautiful place. And don't we all want to be there? And let's be there now. I'm sure someone else has something to add. There's a lot to talk about Regenera.
Yeah,
one of the
like you
beautiful things,
actually made it very essential.
one of the beautiful things about this, Evo, it's a community and a story and a mythology created by a community
Yeah.
of the Design Science Studio, a place of, the word was utopia, but now protopia. It's sort of built by us and built through beauty of artistic expression.
Mm-hmm.
It was an honor just to be part of this whole entire creation process through the Design Science Studio of metaverse and many metaverses that we've actually been using to show our works. One of the other ones is called Topia, and of course the many other metaverses that we have. And Julian here has been an integral part of all of this, and it would be interesting to hear some of your thoughts on that.
Yes, this is a collection of different projects from around the world, and all this it's around regeneration and ecology and also social issues. We're trying to address all these important things that need to happen in the world, and we're mixing our interest and our skills, different skills, to produce all this art and in all these spaces. And so it's also a great opportunity just to collaborate and create some change from these skills and these new environments that we're creating.
Mm-hmm.
So we are about to look at a series of immersive environments that over 100 artists contributed to this year. And this is the second cohort from the Buckminster Fuller Institute's Design Science Studio, specifically from this group of Regenaissance artists. And Serena, you and I were a part of the first cohort as well. So I was wondering if you could take us back and help us understand how this group came together and then began working in places like New Art City.
Yes, like it's been an incredible journey. It was a summer of last year, like August, that I started the course with DSS. Actually, I was a few years ago, I started reading about Buckminster Fuller, or his book and all his ideas and all the great invention he did in the 70s. And his idea of the importance of a decade that can like change everything and make us able to produce work that work for 100% of life without aiming anyone and with like profit for everyone. And this cohort has been just incredible. Like we started just creating a very huge global group of people that comes from like different fields and have so many different and important tools and skills. And all together, even if we were all working on our singular project, we were collaborating and helping, and we learned so much. And so little by little, we starting learning how each of us could complete a project of someone else. So we started looking for each other, and it's been the best part of it. And we've been collaborating, and then that came with this year when I wasn't able to join the DSS, but since last year I helped a bit with this 3D word and the placing of all the little projects and just trying to help people achieve what they wanted for the great ideas, that Roxmy asked me for help, and then she asked me to create a complete 3D new word for the new project that are going to be presented today. So little by little, step by step, we just enlarge our link to each other and create even greater things.
That is a fascinating synopsis of what is 2 years of creative work from hundreds of creators all over the world. And Serena, where are you coming to us from today?
I'm from Italy, from Sicily.
And where are the rest of you coming to us from today?
I'm coming from Canada, from Vancouver Island.
Excellent.
I'm in California, in San Diego. I'm from Colombia.
Oakland here, from New York originally, and Earth.
So it sounds like, and I'm also in the East Bay, California today, but each of us represent one piece of a puzzle here. And we're going to explore different pieces of this artistic puzzle together. And some of that's going to happen through screen sharing, and some of that you can go to yourself. And if you're interested in going to check out these experiences together, you can go to the link right here. That's Regenera Rising, bit.ly/Regenera Rising. And you can go to all of these experiences yourself anytime. That gives you some opportunity to check out not just the art we're going to go see today, but many of the projects that have been created as part of this experience. So we are now going to... Brian, I think what I'd like to do is add your stream into the mix and have you talk us through. As I understand, we have, and I'm going to also screen share as well at various points. We have the Museum of Regenerative Art. We have exhibitions there, and that's what we call New Art City. Is that correct? Is that a little bit of a sample of what we're about to see?
Yes.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove my Museum of Regenerative Art, and we're gonna come into your stream, which is, this is from one of the worlds specifically, Invisible Visible. Is that correct?
Yeah, Invisible Visible was the first event as part of this extravaganza that we're having this whole 10 days. It was kind of like a preview of all the different things that would be part of this ending 10-day event, focusing or showcasing everyone's art experiences and whatever experiences they were bringing to the Design Science Studio. I actually brought a few different ideas to this, all based at least specifically in virtual reality. And what you have here is some of the 3D models that I put into the virtual reality worlds I create. Actually, my virtual reality models I do in Fusion 360. And the beautiful thing about that is I've actually brought these as physical items, some of them at least, to Burning Man in the desert as sculptures. So in the background, you'll see all the way in the fog, there's this, what looks like a lantern cascade. We can go visit that in a moment. But one of the things I wanted to focus on here, because I'll be doing another tour tomorrow as well, is this pavilion that was created is an inspiration to my wife's Burning Man collective. She started a collective called Chinese Beyond Borders, and I am going to actually go to a separate screen real quick just to get some dialogue, and you might see this screen slightly darken for a second. Just wanted to read a little bit about Chinese Beyond Borders in her words. Chinese Beyond Borders is an artist collective founded in Taipei in 2013, inspired by Burning Man, a global cultural movement. Chinese Beyond Borders is a platform to foster collaboration and participation through creating art, with the mission to contribute to diversity in such gatherings and beyond through the celebration of the 20,000-year-old Chinese culture. CBB also aims to share Burning Man culture in Chinese communities around the world. So what actually sparked my interest in doing all this stuff in virtual reality and the modeling that I've done is really inspired from her work. And what I've done here in this pavilion, I've used a Voronoi pattern design, is I took some of her favorite photos. And one thing Chinese Beyond Borders does is they have Chinese lantern inspired dresses, so wearable art. So these are actually photos that we did for the exhibit in Invisible Visible a couple of weeks ago, showcasing all of the different lantern dresses all over the world. Like we have one here in Times Square.
That's great.
We have one here in Paris. We have one here that was actually at Burning Man at a place called Costume Cult. Costume Cult is really amazing because what they do, it's a camp from New York, and they bring 3,000 outfits to Burning Man for people just to dress up in, and then they have runway shows. So Tina does a fashion show every single year there at Costume Cult.
It is the open source of fashion in many ways,
The open
having
source of
this
fashion.
gift economy of exchange constantly. And honestly, this is how I met you, Brian, was being impressed not only with your art and how you took the lanterns into this large scale immersive exhibit, but I met your wife separately while wearing this dress at a graphic event, I believe it was. And it's a stunning piece of work in physical form that you decided to translate to immersive and web, as well as the physical version, correct?
Yes, exactly. You know, it so beautifully translates, because the beauty of the metaverse, and the funny discussion about all of this thing is, I don't think anyone really truly understands what the metaverse is, because we are defining it. So I believe we create this process of transmedia storytelling, and transmedia storytelling, for those who don't know what that is just telling stories on different platforms, all the platforms, to connect the world in all sorts of different kind of beauty and artistic expression. I'm gonna just take a quick trip to one of my favorite photos that she put in here. This is actually her in her wedding dress when we got married at Burning Man in 2016, and the two women next to her are her bridesmaids wearing the lantern dresses.
Great. Excellent.
And one real quick thing, I'll fly up to the lanterns.
Yes.
And then we'll fly up to see, this is a very simple version of the lantern sculpture. These lanterns were actually inspired by a habitable yurt that Tina wants to create for her Burning Man Collective's camp, Chinese Beyond Borders. And the idea would be these structures would actually be where you would sleep and where you would actually have a stage. So she had a very rudimentary 3D or very rudimentary concept drawing of one of them that her friend and classmate Earl Sheldon created. So what I did was I created these 3D representations of this sculpture. Of course, I have a much more detailed version in VR and AltSpace, which we'll be checking out tomorrow. But here is kind of like a teaser. Here's a teaser of the Unity Sanctuary, which we'll see tomorrow, as well as down on the ground, we got one of Bucky's kind of favorite things in the world, the platonic solids. These are actual sculptures I've created, all based off the platonic solids that are actually part of a thing I call the connected experience, and they do all this fun moving. I was excited when I saw this. I wasn't expecting this, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Thank you, Serena, for making this happen.
Oh, it looks great, Serena. So
Well,
Serena,
that's also
you
thanks to
collaborated
the
on
great
this
team.
piece?
Yeah, like I help installing things, but these are some of the features that are new from this year, and we have to thank the amazing team from New York City as well, because like it makes the world a lot more alive. And yes, it's been a pleasure to work on the Brian pieces. They are all amazing, and a lot of fun placing them around.
Really nice.
Wow. All right. So we have creators, artists, engineers, visionaries, people who see the whole systems and how they come together, all converging here. And this is quite an interesting dance that y'all have been doing together. So Brian, when did you jump into start collaborating with this group of artists?
I started in the 2021 second year design science studio cohort almost by synchronicity. So I have a friend who I've been working with on a few projects. We're in something called the Wisdom Path project, and she knows all the things I'm working on. And actually another cohort member she knows too. Her name is Denise. We're all part of another group called the Dream Synergy, and it just happens to sort of connect everyone. Somehow all this Burning Man magic, community magic, metaverse magic connected all of us. So my friend Debbie was like, Brian, I just looked on Facebook. There's this really cool thing called the Design Science Studio. I think you should apply for it. I'm like, excellent. I think I will. So I wrote a whole entire application. In fact, I reached out to my friends because this really meant a lot to me. I really wanted to make sure I could be a part of something like this. So I reached out to a few of my friends to help me write the application. Of course, I wrote all the meat of the text myself, but had a few folks help me, including my good friend Sherry Huss, who's the co-founder of the Maker Faire. She graced me with just looking at this application and being like, Brian, this is perfect for you. I was just so happy just to be a part of this, especially after my entire life worth of things that I've been doing, whether or not it be community instigating, 3D modeling, large-scale sculpture, technology, artistic expression, music, and all of the different things that I've been working on. So the Design Science Studio, Buckminster Fuller Institute, it was just such a positive thing in my life, such an electrifying thing that I was just blown away just by being accepted into it.
I apologize for crashing there. I tried to go to Protopia and sorry about that.
I can go to Protopia for you, Evo, if you want. You want me to do it?
I think, yeah, we're going to go to Protopia next. And I wanted to make sure we have a wide mix of artists and worlds and get to see as much as possible. But yes, Protopia, the Invisible, Visible, all of these Museum of Regenerative Art, or MORA, exhibits are specifically hosted in New Art City. And New Art City, it's our second year in New Art City. Serena, you worked on quite a bit of the art, bringing it together. And Julian, I understand that you have also been pivotal in bringing a lot of this work. Could you talk a little bit about the creative process of bringing works and translating them into this new environment?
Yeah, like just said that it's been incredible, like the evolution for me, because the first thing is that I was asked by Roxy to place myself my project the first year, because she said like you can do 3D, go and just jump in. And I was just like, oh my god, I'm never gonna be able to learn this. This is gonna be so complicated. But that interface of this amazing platform is so easy that it was just a second. And I actually ended up this year creating this whole word for this new exhibition. And it's very important, I think, in this word to make sure that you are communicating not only an interesting space for the visitor, not something captive for when people come in, but more importantly that you're really interpreting what needs to be there. For example, this word protopia is the last one that we created with the Design Science Studio, and the idea is just to create a word that is not an utopia, but something that is actually possible, but is the image of a new word. And then I was inspired a lot by the project of Monica that you see there on the right. And this idea of having a very new architecture full of plants, but still very, very natural. And then this is a part of the design. And the other part is when like people are not able to do their own 3D model, but they still want to be in part of the exposition. So you really need to help them achieve what they want, what they see, and then have an object that represents their own project.
So it sounds like, Serena, you've been one of these pivotal people who's helped people translate the work. And then Julian, you've jumped in this year, correct? How did you jump into this
Yes.
collaboration?
My background it's architecture and drafting in general. I was trying to translate all those skills into something more beneficial, maybe. And I got to see one of the presentations of the Design Science Studio, and they kind of present this worlds, the first version of this, and so I decided to join. And just being there, I realized, oh, this is something big, because not just the space, it's everyone putting their ideas. And then we started like just talking and seeing that what everyone was bringing to the group, right? And then I figured that part of the skills that I had could be really mixed into this from the drafting part of it, right? So I kind of concentrate on getting the 3D models and collecting the ideas and make them real somehow. So it wasn't necessarily a light process, and it was different for every project that I got involved into, but it was great, and everyone was collaborating from different parts of the ideas, and also sometimes just jumping from one to another. Just was a great experience of learning and co-creation in that sense.
So I have Julian stuff up here, Eva. Really amazing stuff. If you wanted to talk about it real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop out of the scene for a second, and could you share a little bit of what we are seeing on the screen?
This was a work that we created based on one of the books from Della. So she wrote this story about a journey to a galaxy with different characters, right? And in each character has a some kind of knowledge that it's sharing with the person that it's traveling through them. And the process here also included Della's artwork. So every texture and the characters and everything here was initially a hand painting. So we took all those images and just recreate the environment here, and also like with new concepts that we merged to this, including some geometry concepts and spherical thinking and other things that are part of the program of the uh, all the synergetics and all these concepts from Buckminster Fuller. So we create this version for this world just to be something that can explore and travel one to the other one. But we also create an animation out of this. So we have this in different forms. And Della also created a Topia world. We co-created a Topia world. So we have this story in multiple uh, multiple dimensions. And,
Yes, and
it has
I'm
been
gonna,
great.
Della, this is the book it's based on, Star Galaxy.
Star Galaxy for the World is a picture book, and it goes into all the different characters that are in the New Art City, and the qualities that they suggest that you need to nourish to take action in the world and to create a beautiful essence in the world.
Wow.
So they're inside of the geometric forms, which is where they live in outer space. It's kind of like a Milky Way outer space kind of thing that I came to me in a dream that they were supposed to live in. And this story was really developed a lot because of COVID, because I realized in the time of COVID, another story that I've written called Miracle Galaxy was performed in Japan. And when it was performed, I said, oh my gosh, this could be a story for the world right now. And I created Star Galaxy for the world in the last 2 years. And the characters are really representing qualities that are important right now for the world, and encouraging people to take action. And the whole process of developing this was really beautiful with Julian, because he just connected up with it so easily and so clearly. And it really meant a lot to me to work with someone like him. And we started with doing things in Topia together. We created Star Galaxy for the World in Topia. Then it moved into New Art City, and then it moved into Julian's animation.
So if people want to experience this now, they can jump into Regenera Rising, and we put that URL up earlier, but I'm going to do that again because this question comes up. People sometimes see this on YouTube later, and all of the links, especially what we're looking at right now, which is inside Protopia. Is that correct? It's inside Protopia, inside the New Art City experience, correct?
Right.
Excellent. And Star Galaxy for the World is a book, correct?
Is
that available elsewhere?
Yes, it's available on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon as a hard copy or as a digital book. It's also available as a digital book, so you can download it easily. It's like $3-4, maybe. It's very good. Yeah.
It seems like it's
very. Of course, Julian has his animation, which is absolutely beautiful, and it's only 3 minutes. We should take a look at it.
Oh, yes. And Julian, if you want to cue that up, feel free, and we can have that screen shared in next if you'd like. And I'm going to bring back in Serena and Brian for a few more minutes so that we have some time with them. I know, Serena, it's probably late for you, so I don't want to burden you, given that it's going to be kind of later on the end of your day, but I want to give us a little bit of time to talk about collaboration. And honestly, we've been seeing some really sweet messages come across from our fellow artists in the community, from Mariette, from Roxy, from Miriam, everybody watching. And thank you for all paying attention. We were talking about domes and immersive earlier. Ed Lance, who's an amazing dome pioneer at Vortex, has also been tuning in. And so I just want to thank you for, number one, sharing how you're collaborating right now and what's working for you so that the rest of our community can plug in and work with all of you.
Yeah, it's totally amazing to have the collaboration. And for me as an artist, I'm a painter. One of my paintings is in behind there, and of course in the book. For me to be able to, during this time when I can't have art shows and I couldn't even go out and do public storytellings, to be able to work with it in a technical area like this and creating immersive environments was just a wonderful time. And to create with people like Julian was amazing. And Brian and I talked a lot too. And Brian's totally into imagination. And he encourages imagination, so he's such an important person in all this too.
It's one of the beautiful things about being part of this cohort. We formed a symbiotic connection like a family, and it was just so critical because of the time we're in. In fact, it's something that COVID-19 really taught us, a very important lesson, that we may be locked up in our house for a little bit, but somehow we have to be able to communicate with each other. And we were able to do this in a very creative way. And it's definitely where the path has been paved for what technology should be leveraged for, which I hope is more encouraged.
Yeah, good point. Right on.
Serena, it's your second year jumping in. How did you find this working for you?
Well, I just can never stop being happy about how incredible it's when you start collaborating with someone, in respect on when you work by yourself, like when you just contact someone and like get some, even just a feedback or just even like an aspect from another ideas, or even like all the tools that like all the people in this group have been offering, how have they improved my work, and I hope that my work has been improving them as well, because the connection made here are just something that I feel something that like improved myself as well.
True. No.
I actually just had a quick little comment on what Julian and Della did together. I have to admit, I was so impressed with the combination of 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional artwork. It has definitely been something I have been thinking about myself to tell a story. And just to see it, the beauty of it, the cutout drawings, the two-dimensional drawings within the three-dimensional objects really fit so well. And I just wanted to say that I was so excited to see it. And good job to both of you.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say this is what I meant. Like, it's the kind of possibility that's open when two different artists collaborate together. This is just great.
Yeah, the possibilities are so incredible when you start working with other people. We also worked with a musician, Stroopy, and he came in quite late in the process, but he added so much, and he did it very quickly. Like he said, he sort of said it was easy, but in fact it was because he was so experienced that he just listened to what we told him about the story, and he clicked into his instruments, and he had it all done in days, right, Julian? 2 days later, he sent it to you, and the music. You'll see it on the animation. The music is really beautiful.
I actually heard him play the pan flute the other day, and I was just so impressed with Stroopy.
Oh, yeah. I heard him play the pan flute in a breakout group, and I said, you've got to get in touch with Julian because your music could be really good for this. So you'll understand when you see the animation. Yeah.
I'm having a problem here with the share.
Is it
Yeah,
invisible?
we're still working on getting that video in. So we're going to bring that in a little bit later, but we are going to keep looking at some of the other experiences inside Mora and New Art City so that we have a chance to see as much of it as possible. And Julian, I'm sorry, apologies for getting those names a little bit confused here. It has been a very long journey through the metaverse today. So this gives us a little bit of a map of what we're seeing here. And I just want to zoom in on this. Are you seeing this with us here?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So these are the exhibits inside Invisible Visible specifically, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it looks like a few of you collaborated on these pieces. Oh, I love that animation. That's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to open up. So this is where we came before. This is including the lantern. And tell me, that is called Unity Sanctuary, Brian. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's Unity Sanctuary, a place of sound and light healing.
And that's this piece at the top. And then Julian, this is your piece, Cross Pollination. Could you tell us a little bit about what this is?
Yeah, the idea here was to work with the geometry of the smaller things that exist in the natural world and connect that to systems that we can apply to the same structures and the same processes. Mm-hmm. So there's some, this is part of a larger concept, which is just going through the geometry of life itself, or how things grow, how things evolve. And through that understanding, how we can apply it to design and just new systems for the things that we're trying to recreate or improve, being nature a great source of solutions and very efficient solutions, and looking for that kind of knowledge from nature.
So it seems that you are a biomimicry expert of some form. Like you enjoy studying these patterns and systems and how they inform each other in some way.
Yes. That
Makes
has
sense.
been probably yes. I started with just creating structures for architecture and using those shapes as the main way to reduce the amount of materials and create really efficient structures. But then it moved into a little more complex ideas, not necessarily just physical structures, but also groups, or just the way the way that things could move or could adapt to other systems. So that's what I'm working on right now, bringing this into systems and This one, for example, is based on vector equilibrium, which it's one of the basic shapes that matter and life it's created. And yeah, the idea is just to get like an approach to the little things that sometimes we don't see because we tend to see the big picture of things, but there is a lot that happens in the micro world and the macro world too that we're trying to collect here with these shapes. You can go directly to the beehive too. It has an entrance. And the idea is also to explore curiosity. Part of understanding these things, it's being curious about it. So you get curious, you get there, and you realize you are part of this whole thing. It's not disconnected. All the shapes, all the things that happen in the world are connected.
I love that journey of surprise and discovery that you take people on by letting them come inside your art. This is something that more and more metaverse artists are playing with. And I think, you know, Brian, your work, you play with scale and pattern and biomimicry as well, but each of you are taking these ideas and spinning them in different directions. And I really want to pull apart maybe how that informs each other. I think, Serena, you've shown me so much of how we sort of overlay and create together and sort of build this sort of visual library that we're all working from together. And I feel like your work and obviously the work that Roxy and everyone at Regenera and the team at Habitual have been putting together over these last 2 years, it's creating a shared lexicon, like a visual library as well as a language for us.
Yes, and probably experimenting with this language, because as these amazing people have been just saying that, like, we don't know what multiverse is and we can do everything with it. And just like having more people from everywhere with different perspective playing with it is just a way to see somehow the potential of it and how we want to use it to let people imagine a future that then can return into reality, because we want people to get inspired by what we create there and to understand that if you swift the way you are learning how things are built, then you can build everything. And that's why, like, one of the important concepts that Roxmy told me about for the building of Protopia was the unboxing reality. So stop thinking in like traditional cube way and start playing with all the other incredible lines and forms that nature always creates.
There's so many opportunities in that space to really explore and discover. Della, how's it been working with this group of artists? I mean, if you look at this work, this is a lot.
Yeah, really fantastic. I personally feel it's just the beginning. Because the possibilities are endless. You know, I mean, my work over many years has been with a lot of people collaborating with me, because my books are made into theater productions in Japan and New York and different places in the world. And so for me to collaborate on this level with people that are more technically orientated and doing this immersive thing is just a natural. And I say, as I said, I think it's only a beginning. I think the possibilities are really endless.
These installations are very detailed and elaborate, and this represents a great deal of work. I mean, hundreds of hours of work for different creatives.
Oh, yes. Yeah, really incredible. Amount of work involved is just really incredible. Not only conceptualizing the projects, but then manifesting them in some way so that you can see them and understand them is another story. And that's quite often where the visual painters like myself need the technical people to be able to then bring it to this kind of a form. I know this is one that Julian helped on, Neras, which is a beautiful story about trees. And you were helping with that one, weren't you, Julian? Were you helping? Yeah.
I'm sorry, sorry. You were talking about
You were
Neha's,
helping with Neris.
yes, she's working with trees and the elders and how we are all connected through nature to the elders and with everyone else, kind of. So she's a poet, but she also, I think, she is a physicist, I believe, and it was just amazing because she is mixing also a little bit of that into her work, and it was a similar process than Della's, just getting some of her artwork and give it
Yes.
like a different dimension to it, and it's great when you get into work with different kind of art too, as words that she's incredible about it, and the 3D model is a combination of two paintings that are included in like a group of pieces that she has around this idea of the trees and the elders.
You designed the middle piece, didn't you? That middle section.
Yes, that's
Inside.
that's a painting that was transformed into a two-sided box that has like convex and concave images there, and they represent different parts of the idea of this Bonchan tree, and the butterflies are part of another painting that it's about Indra's web, which it's related with the idea that everything is connected, that we are a reflection of everything else. So it's a really big concept, and we kind of try to like fit in this piece, but we're still working on that idea of the reflection.
I love how the art style of this piece, your work, Julian, and the butterflies. It has this beautiful mix of sort of old world and new world storytelling to it. It feels both very primitive and very high tech at the same time, which you almost never see. This sense of being connected to nature and culture and tradition and heritage, art as heritage, right? But also like rootedness, right? This particular room has a lot of energy for the immersive experience person who's very rarely inspired. This is a very inspiring space. I like it a lot.
I think it's very beautiful too, because it is her paintings. And being a painter, I really appreciated this because she's got her paintings, but yet with Julian's collaboration, they've made it into a three-dimensional room and a three-dimensional object in the middle that kind of ties it together, the banyan tree. It's really beautifully done, isn't it?
One of the things in VR I see a lot is the use of two-dimensional drawings over three-dimensional objects to give it a more efficiency in the world itself and just a more detailed look. And there's definitely a very special way to make it look as unique as this is. It's almost like a pop-up book, which is so beautiful. And one of the things I've also noticed with what the Design Science Studio did was it gave us the chance to collaborate with each other, but in a way where we actually got a chance to experience what each other did. And I feel it's kind of a very important part of collaboration, at least trying to do what the other person does, so we understand what they have to go through to do it. So when we ask for something that we may not be able to do, we kind of at least understand that it may not be so easy, or it actually might be so easy, depending. So it was really interesting to collaborate like that.
Yeah.
So that was the work of Neha Misra, I believe. Right. Is that how I pronounce her name? Yeah. How many of you actually got a chance to meet during this collaboration? I know that much of the collaboration happens either in Zoom or in, platforms like we are here in New Art City. How many of you have actually met in person?
I actually haven't met anyone that is part of the DSS in person, but I'm sure I will eventually.
Actually, me and a couple of folks I know Yobi for years now.
Okay.
So I know him in the physical world. I think who else. Roxy knows my wife, Tina. She met her at GDC,
That's
Global
right.
Development Conference with Burning
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
It's interesting how we're all connected that way.
Well, you know, I think because of COVID, it put restrictions on meeting. I'm sure I would have gotten on a plane and met a lot of people, but because of COVID, everything changed. And so our communication was very much Zoom and by telephone and by WhatsApp and whatever way you communicate, but it wasn't necessarily face to face. But I don't think it took away, interestingly, in the end from the communication.
You know something really interesting on that point? My mission statement for the connected experience starts with something like, through technology, we are all hyper-connected, yet loneliness is the disease of our time. It's amazing how we are so connected, yet we are not connected. But I feel what the Design Science Studio did with the Zoom communications and all of these different kind of interactions is it brought the humanity back into it. You know, we all, at one point, I think at least all of us cried once or twice or 50 times, depending on who we were. We all laughed, we all danced together, and we looked at what could be diversity, or sorry, what could be a roadblock in collaborating, since we couldn't physically be together. And what we really did was we created magic from it, and we really recreated or redefined collaboration in a very meta way, which is amazing, because I think this is the next step. That some say, at least the Mayans say in the calendar, that 2012 was the end of their calendar, and the next calendar had something to do with the beginnings of the collective consciousness. And I think this is what that is. This is a way where we can actually all connect together wherever we are in the world, because what happens is so many people are so far apart from each other that now we have the ability to connect almost instantaneously anywhere in the world and actually create art together. So I think really this is the next wave of the future, and I'm really excited to be a part of this generation.
Well, so we are just in the first of many worlds here, and I want to give us some time to jump over to some of the other worlds as well. But I understand that, you know, oh my gosh, look at this piece. Wow. This is a summary of how to create a fire ceremony, a Mayan fire ceremony. So this is protopian experience as honoring ritual and heritage and what is sacred to people for thousands of years. This is an extraordinary embodiment of what is protopian, what it means to be protopian. Everything with love. What a gorgeous piece. What a gorgeous piece. I would love to take some time to go ahead and jump over to some of those other worlds with you. So I'm going to take this one out. And I think some of you had a sense of other places and other videos that you wanted to share with us here. So you know what, Julian, we're going to figure out how to bring your video in for tomorrow, if not for today, because we're going to do a second art tour tomorrow. And if it doesn't work today, we'll make it happen tomorrow. It's totally fine. I think Brian's going to also give us a second stream. And Brian, what am I about to bring in? What's about to come in on the screen next?
Magic. I pulled up Interbeing in case you all wanted to go through another one of the worlds. I also have a video that we can play that I created from the Unity Sanctuary world. So how about I jump into my other screen now? Go here. What? You know, I am always blown away by how creative the group that we are in is. The next piece coming up here, I actually had a chance to model. I did this for one of our cohort members, John Van Meter, and what he wants to do is create a way of making houses for homeless people. And what this is actually a truncated dodecahedron or octahedron. And I was able to make this 3D model for him. We actually brought this into AltSpace. So I was thinking about maybe showing people this in AltSpace too. If you have a VR headset, you can actually go inside of this. It's like being in the ultimate clubhouse. But the intention is really to help house the homeless in a piece of art. I thought that was beautiful because, you know, a lot of people have shelter. But to be in a shelter that has to do with something with art is got to be the most amazing thing I can think of.
Well, it is the genesis of what we need in terms of how do we create regenerative housing for all of those who are lost. I mean, some of you who have been to Burning Man have seen the hexayurts out there. Hexayurt was designed as displacement housing as well, and it became a design motif for events all over the world because people wanted to solve a problem.
Actually, when I talked to John about this, we were discussing loosely, it would be really beautiful to be able to teach vocational skill to people who are maybe really down on their luck, to not only provide these housing for people who are homeless, but actually teach them critical skills to actually build their own community. And then, of course, then to build a whole entire regenerative society. So we teach by doing. And I think that, some people just need a little bit of a hand, and we can all work together as a community. Just walk around a little bit more, see more of the amazing.
This is Jeet's. Jeet is this totally amazing visual artist from India. And in our sessions, which we met, twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, he'd be coming in from India, and India was not 8 or 9 or 10 in the morning. It's probably middle of the night. And midnight. And he'd be so involved. And anyways, he created this incredible world, not only here in New Art City, but also in Topia. And he shows some of the people in his village where he lives making all sorts of different beautiful fabric art and dyes, which is what he does. It's really stunning.
It's all eco-friendly, or at least as much as possible, humanly possible. Right. The mission is to create art through eco-friendly fabrics and textiles, which is really the way we need to go, because a lot of things just cause so much harm to the planet, and Jeet's mission is sort of to get away from that and sort of make it more natural.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful stuff.
Next on the tour.
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, quite often we have contacts with these other artists, and so we sort of know what they were going through in making these. And this is Pamela, for instance, Gorali, and I talked with her. She's a New York artist, and she told me about what she was creating a film on I Am Mother Earth, and incredible, fascinating ideas. And she took me up to show me this, and actually, because her computer was so high tech, I was able to actually go in and for the first time see even Star Galaxy for the World in New Art City with all the wings of the storytellers moving on her computer. But she came up with this idea, which I think is just abstract and beautiful at the same time.
Pamela is also a handy girl. She's an amazing builder. She builds very interesting furniture through eco-friendly reuse. Nice. And it's awesome. It's actually really awesome when she's in our cohort sessions, because you always hear like a drill in the background or a table saw or something like that. It's funny because we have to put her on mute sometimes, but she's really doing it. She's creating with her hands, with digital art and all sorts of things. And I'm definitely very impressed with her as well.
Some of you know that I love doing the building side as well. So it's really great to focus on how to get it created once.
Yeah.
And then hopefully modeled and then made everywhere. And Brian, I understand that you've been helping with some of the modeling on this side. Julian, you come from an architecture background. I'm wondering how you're tackling the challenges of portability and interoperability. Some of you know that I dove into Open Metaverse Interop specifically from a community and organizing point of view after DSS, because I wanted to make sure that creators like you could create once and keep publishing all over and make that as viable and available as possible. Could some of you talk about your process and how you're working to make these works more portable and accessible and interoperable?
Yes, and this is probably part of the problem here today. I decided to be having a little. I didn't have enough space to probably create some things in other environments, so I decided to go and use only open source software to have just more independence about the creations, and at the same time. I think it's important to reduce the amount of data and computers that we need to do all these things, right? So I have been working with old computers, and also everything it's made with open source programs. I probably just pay like $10 for one program that's about it. And the part of this idea is also that it could be replicated and also thought in different environments, and that you don't need to be connected to a big studio or a big production system to achieve these things, right? So the idea is that everyone could have a great idea, but not necessarily the means to produce it or make it real. So this is a great big part of what I'm trying to do is accessibility. It's the way to go, and also that reduces consumption, reduces extraction of minerals, and many other things. I think it's good to reduce.
You know, one of the things I like to do is try to find as many tools as possible that is accessible as possible. And in that same suit, also have a lot of ideation seminars or events. So for Burning Man Multiverse in 2021, I did 10 days straight, about 4 hours a day, with 2 events, one for Unity Sanctuary and one for the Connected Experience, where I did ideation to actualization. And what I did in those events was I actually explained my creative process. This idea comes to my head and how I visualize it, and then how I use 3D modeling softwares with the intention of actually building some of these sculptures in the virtual and physical world. So I like to do all the mediums. And I find the more that we actually discuss these things, the more we spark the imagination, because a lot of people don't realize how powerful these tools are, how accessible these tools are, and in some cases how easy these tools are to use. Like, let's say something like Unity, where you can actually create environments with pre-made 3D models and then find a VR platform, let's say like a VR chat or AltSpace or one of these other places, or even a place like New Art City. New Art City is a little bit more restrictive. We are allowed to put GLBs in here and FBXs, but you know, that's the beauty of the WebXR based kind of platform. It's pretty much anyone can throw whatever they want in here and basically view it in almost any platform. Now, of course, I don't want to spill beans too much, and I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to say this, so I'll be brief. There may be a possibility that this environment at some point will be VR, which I'd be very excited to. It may or may not be in beta at some point. But I think the immersion is really the critical thing. I think really to be able to be inside of this, I remember the difference between looking at it on my desktop like I'm doing now, which is beautiful. Actually, the desktop version versus the VR version, the desktop has always got more clarity and definition. But the VR version, although maybe not as crisp and clear, is so, the experience itself is just so unique. So I would think that, you know, at least to try, everyone should try it out. And they'd be surprised once they start throwing objects into space like this and start arranging them physically, literally in real time. Your mind will be blown by how much power you have just in a small little thing that you could put on your face. And ultimately, I think the way of making this a more kind of adopted idea of design, create programs where we teach our youth things like three-dimensional modeling and world building through Unity and game engine development, where we start in the cognitive years. You know, we start when children are young, when they can actually absorb all this information when they're learning, and teach them how to do digital design. I almost want to see vocational become one of the most important things on the planet, alongside with education, because with vocational, we build things, and with vocational, we create things. So we give the younger generation the power to do all this stuff. We give them the tools, which is easily accessible. Throughout these years where their brains absorb all this information, we can actually teach how to do world building. And when they become adults after 18, when their brains are fully developed, and now all of a sudden they can take this skill set that they have and build the real sustainable city of the future in the physical world. So we can gamify everything. And I hate to use such a cliche word like gamify, but the truth is it only really explains what we want to do. We want to make this engaging. So I think the most critical thing to do with these platforms is to make them engaging and make them easy to use. And anyone who is good at it, and I don't say this loosely, I say anyone who's really good at it should really take the responsibility to volunteer whatever time they can responsibly do to teach these things. We all need to be mentors in some way. And I find that we give people the power of this. We give people the power to actually unlock their imagination and do anything that they can dream of, which is the most beautiful thing I can think of.
I love that you are lighting a creative fire under anyone who might be catching this video right now. I would love to hear, obviously, Blender for those of you who are not super aware around different types of open source software, you might want to look at programs like Blender. Are there other programs that you would recommend, Julian, right? Anyone else around open source creative development for WebXR or for immersive web and for VR as well?
I'll talk more about the graphic part of it. Definitely Blender and Inkscape, which is a good way to start creating digital art. Krita,
I like
also.
GIMP is cool. GIMP is like a Photoshop-like program. It's very powerful. But one of the really good things about the world and the world of the applications these days is Autodesk and Unity and Unreal all offer free versions of fully functional applications. And they do this because they want to inspire and teach the next generation. So with Fusion 360, which is the 3D modeling software I use, which is an Autodesk project, a product made mostly for designing physical objects like an engine block or a skateboard or jewelry, has actually got a small niche collection of people who use it to do the art. And it's free. And everything you need to do in Fusion 360 to bring it into these environments, like export an FBX, which is just a file format that's a three-dimensional object, is readily available. So you can actually learn through these professionally based programs, get a critical skill and actually get a job with it, maybe even. Unity, which is based on a lot of the social VR and VR platforms. Unreal, which is used in a lot of filmmaking. They both have free versions that are fully functional. And unless you make like, I don't know, $200,000, $100,000 a year on it, you don't have to pay for it. You have a full version. And all of these platforms, the list just goes on and on and on. You're able to do all this stuff with.
It is a great way to jump in. There are free and open source game development platforms as well, like Godot, or you can try things in other platforms. I use Spoke with Mozilla Hubs, for example, if you're creating on WebXR, or you can, try something out like New Art City. Topia is another experience zone that is used by the community here at Regenera, and we might jump over to Topia a little bit later on. But first off, this is a very neat installation, by the way. I definitely want to come back in and spend more time at this one and the psychedelic one we just saw as well. We're in Interbeing right now inside New Art City, and this is a part of the Museum of Regenerative Art and Regenera, an 11-day event, 12-day event, I believe, that this is our second year participating in. So I just want to thank all of you. I don't know what this piece is we're looking at right now. Can you tell me what that is?
This is from my sister from another Mr. Alexandria, who's like my Ukrainian sister. I'm part Ukrainian. She is full Ukrainian. And she has a project where she has 64 paintings that all match up to the characters on the bagua.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I've done is I've taken the bagua that I have in Unity Sanctuary, and this represents water, these things. I put this cool water texture on it. And she has her paintings underneath, kind of upside down right now, but that's the funny thing. These 8 represents the trickster. So I thought, the trickster would make these paintings upside down. This is intentional. Yes, it was intentional. Or actually, it was the way the art was created. But it was a way we were actually able to collaborate. And sometimes what happens with art, and I find this to be true all of the time, is sometimes it tells us what it wants to do, and what we want to do is not necessarily the way it goes. So it's always important with art to allow it to communicate with you and let it guide you a little bit, because it will actually give you a really beautiful path inside.
Wow.
That's a really neat collaboration between you and her.
Wow.
Brian. She's so talented. She's got this whole tarot deck of every one of the I Ching symbols as a card that you can shuffle and decide what's going to happen to you that day.
I think I need that in my life.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of both of those systems, and you don't see them put together in that way very often.
Yeah,
and that kind of archetypal play where you
got the deck.
Fun dances.
Got the deck.
Wow.
I bought it from her, and I use it. I do use it.
But none of you have met Alexandria in person. You said she's Ukrainian?
Well, she's here in the U.S., but originally from the Ukraine. I haven't met her. I've only met her on Zoom.
Yeah. We feel like we've met each other, but
We have.
it's not a face-to-face. It's a heart-to-heart.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm about to say something that's going to be a little bit abstract. And the reason I call what people call the real world, I call it the physical reality on purpose, because we're all a soul that is in a different vessel, transported through a different kind of dimension. And in the physical world, we're in the vessel of the flesh. And in the digital world, through any metaverse, we're actually in the vessel of something else, which we're defining right now. So I have met Alexandra, I've met Della, Julian, and Serena. We've met we've met each other already with our minds and our hearts, which is really the critical thing of connection. So this is why it's important for this, and this is why it's important for us as a community to start doing more of this, I think.
This is such an interesting perspective to think about connection as far more than the physical or the phygital that it is, and more than just the visceral. It is absolutely ephemeral. It can be in the moment, and places like Zoom and New Art City can enable that as well. We're going to tomorrow take a leap with avatars into some of the immersive environments that Brian and others have created inside AltSpace, and we're going to take a separate tour in the Metaverse Art Tour tomorrow. But I wanted to. Oh, this is a neat piece. What am I seeing here? What is this? This is.
Oh, this is Melissa. Melissa's amazing. What
great.
she does is she takes remnants. So basically anything left over. And she's figured out a way of creating clothes out of the leftovers, so there's zero waste.
Yeah. When they do the cutting of the fabric on big tables, the manufacturers, there's all sorts of waste material. And she takes that and she makes garments out of it.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes, that makes a lot of sense to be able to convert what would have been waste into something that is quite beautiful, and especially using that sort of accordion-like structure. So this is work that, we're seeing many different artists who have developed their work in tandem while also doing their own work and really rooting that work within a community. And it seems like that community has been very valuable to each of you for different reasons and in different ways in your life. I wanted to give a chance. I believe you have that video up, Julian. Speaking of collaboration, I wanted to give a chance to share that. So I'm going to bring it up in our stream now. And Brian, I'm gonna pull this one out for just a second. But this video that you have here. So Stroopy.
This is the trailer. I tried to upload the other one, but it's a little heavy.
But the trailer kind of gives a feeling of it, and it tells the people that were involved, my husband, Dale Bertrand, and myself and Julian and Stroopy and my brother, Freeman, and so many people were involved in creating this incredible animation. And the trailer gives a little feeling of it. Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Stroopy, he uses different instruments from different parts of the world, and it brings all that more into the visual and the creation of the animation. It brings everyone put something that was important for it, not just the whatever names are there, but I think the whole group, the whole cohort was giving us feedback, and it's something that it's bigger than the names that are here. And I think through that collaboration, we found that magic, that we all have so many different talents, but we have the same intentions. And when we put that together, things just happened. and that's probably the most valuable thing that I have learned and experienced through this.
Right. That's the beauty of the cohort. And I mentioned it before too. And I try to emphasize on the fact that all of our projects are beautifully important, but the cohort itself is the critical thing that will help heal the planet. We come together and share each other's skills and our experiences, and we come together and work on things like this, and miracles happen. We all came together and we're able to actually create stuff that each of us couldn't have done on our own. And a lot of people have come in here with not necessarily any digital skills, and through the grace of Julian, was able to actually get their ideas in this environment. And a few of the other folks, like Serena, was able to help. I was able to help when I could. So we were actually able to give our skills to help other people manifest their own imagination in a way they would never have been able to before, which is why this cohort was just so beautiful.
That's true.
So now we have built 2 years of amazing cohorts. What we were just seeing there was year 1, and now we have year 2. I'm curious what comes next for all of you as creators and what you're looking forward to, if there's some fruit of this collaboration that you're building on next.
I really hope to do more. Oh, sorry, Brian. You go ahead.
I was going to say I'm actually working with a few folks doing education development, at least on a slow basis, and a couple of other things. I'd like to work with John on that housing thing. I told him we should bring it to Burning Man. The truncated octahedrons, we'll bring that to Burning Man. I'm sure everyone would love it. So really, I found that the most beautiful thing I've gotten out of this wasn't even my own project. It was working with other people.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that working the collaboration has really been incredible, and I see myself doing more work with other people that want to collaborate in various ways and sharing my stories that I've created over decades, but they've all got a meaning that is very important for today: protecting nature, loving nature, and remembering your dreams and all of these things. And I think, Julian, you've got some really good things that you're going to be cooking up from all of this collaborations.
Yes, the initial idea was to try to just use those types of creation of shapes and all this stuff, but through the program I realized that there's much more that could be brought into that process. So I pretty much created a studio, like independent studio, but through this process I realized how much more could be added to it. So what's next is just keep working on this kind of projects and just keep building from there, from what we did here, and everything that could be added to it. And I think the important part is that we created something that it's really accessible for anyone, regardless their skill set or their how developed their projects are or not. It's just ideas and people trying to improve things for everyone and for everything in the world.
I just had an epiphany. It's called exponential collaboration. I think when we start doing this together, we realize how easy it was, more easy than we thought. And it triggers something really beautiful, which is more of it and more of it and more of it. And, I've often also said that the Design Science Studio is a beautiful experiment to show the example of how we could be doing things. I think the more we share it, like with this streaming live to YouTube, and showing how we didn't know each other before this. Of course, I've knew you, Ivo, from before, and I knew a few of the other people in the cohort, but honestly, I've met so many amazing folks in this thing that we're doing. And now we're actually working together on things and sharing that. And we create what I just said, which is an exponential development of collaboration. And I think the more we do that, we go more towards even my dream of a decentralized mindset. So, people are in the blockchain ideology. I'm thinking we can create a decentralized mindset where we work together as a community, create the Tao of the world, where we all work together. We all have our part. Everything we do is beautiful and it's sustainable, and everyone is treated equally. We can really have this utopia or protopia or whatever we see as the future. So it's definitely very exciting. I look forward to more of that as the days and months and weeks and years go on.
All right.
Well, thank you for helping me frame how the collaboration has grown. As I had on our screen a moment ago, we are about halfway through, a little bit over halfway through this sort of more than a week-long endeavor that has happened now for 2 years, about what is design science and regenerative outcomes, but also regenerative visions and protopian visions, understanding the relationship between creating a regenerative system and living out our protopian ideals, whether that's in our creative work or in how we organize people. And Brian, I think you were speaking to some of those aspects of how we organize being the next steps, and for others of you, it might be a media project or some other type of collaboration that you then take out into the world after this. Della, you're nodding your head.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. I've got it after working and doing the 3D and animation, that I can think of lots of stories that can be included in things that are more immersive. I've created a lot already, and I will create more. It keeps going on. Creativity is part of the action we need.
Right. So Buckminster Fuller called his whole system strategy comprehensive anticipatory design science, right? And so understanding the role of the artist or the engineer or the writer or whatever you might be in this world as part of a process, and then opening yourself up to showing up on the Zooms and finding a collaborator maybe halfway around the world.
Well, also he also talked about how when something works, it's beautiful. When you do the design process and it ends up being beautiful, it's working. And I think that's a big thing. And when you look through, for instance, New Art City, you just look after one thing and another, and you think, wow, that's beautiful, because it's working. Anyways, he gives a lot of tips to artists and to creators on what you should look for when you're going through the design process. And that's one thing that I find really inspiring.
I like to tell people to make mistakes. Please make as many as you can when you're doing this design process, because it's how we learn. You know, Buckminster Fuller is definitely a good mentor, but in the end, we can all be mentors when we start gaining our skills. I tell people sometimes to do things the way I show you at first until you learn how to do them differently or better, and maybe then show me what to do, because that's how we teach. So let's look at the beauty that Buckminster Fuller created, and hopefully inspire everyone to be Buckminster Fuller in some way. I think we all can be, actually, you know, in our own beautiful way.
Absolutely. I know in the front of my Star Galaxy book, I say one of the things is to be inspired by Buckminster Fuller's quote of, "You are the universe. You are not you. You are the universe." And I really think that's a huge statement for children or for anyone creating. You are not you. You are the universe. All of a sudden, it becomes something larger. It's like communicating with the divine, and you become a co-creator with that. And those things happen in the creative process, and when you're being really creative. And I think Bucky felt that, and he knew that. I happened to have the privilege to see him speak in Los Angeles in 1979 when I was doing workshops at that time in Los Angeles for children. And when I saw him speak, he disappeared. His whole physical body disappeared. He was on the stage, he was speaking, but his body was not there. Wow. And I realized that at that time, the quote, "You are the universe," he was playing it out for me to see. And that this is something as human beings that we can do. We can go beyond our physical bodies and become something greater. You know, it's the whole, all is one thing.
Well, the dodecahedron represents universe, right?
Right. And that's why I have the dodecahedron in the middle of the Star Galaxy story, and the storyteller of transformation being a part of that is because it is, you know, in the center of the universe.
We got it. Da-da, da-da. Here we go.
There we go. Yeah.
When you're inspired to create something, it's something that it feels good. It's something you enjoy, right? When you are surrounded with like so many people that are as well inspired as you, the possibilities are just limitless. It's just whatever path you
Yeah.
want to take, but you can find resources and support and friendship and all that stuff that makes things happen. That's a big part of it.
That's the beauty of the collective consciousness. We're all one. Every one of our minds becomes one. We all have different things. We become one entity. Beautiful, the beauty of it.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that, like, all the things that I learned through Buckminster Fuller videos and books, I actually see alive when I chat and I talk with people from the cohort. Like, I really feel that we are a synergetic system, that we know how we are little parts that collaborate together to make something bigger. And we really understand how important it is also to get in contact with each other and keep the flow, keep everything working as our values, and our values are all the same, even if we are also different and we are a different definition of the same where we want to be, and we want to the same universe that we want to create.
That beautiful thing we were just looking at that Irana created with all the different animals, and the importance of the animals and the energy of the earth. It was just stunning. It's just stunning, absolutely stunning. These are all endangered animals. Very touching for me to see this, because I have a lot of feelings for all the endangered animals.
It is videos as also audio, so if you walk in, you see.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Marlena Bendita, she did a beautiful whole meditative experience inside of this cathedral dome. You know, really, really beautiful.
Yeah, this is actually a very beautiful, incredible coincidence of technology, because she presented her project as a 360-degree video, and actually, like, just turning into a sphere, which is one of the options for videos in your city. And this is just crazy. You just feel like you are in it. You just feel like you can live the experience.
Oh, God, it's incredible. And her singing is very beautiful.
As we come together to restore the voice of Gaia.
So immersive.
Yeah, very immersive. Very beautiful voice too.
Yeah. This is another one of the cube you can walk in and see all the piece of art from Monica.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to hopefully see this kind of thing in a virtual reality environment. So I hope that really works out, because, you know, in the spaces that I've developed in before, it's a little bit more of a learning curve to get things to work, but this one is just a little bit more simple. Of course, it's a slightly more limiting because of what you can upload, but really anyone can do this on any platform, and you can actually see it on any version. So I'm really excited to be able to see if I can connect this to a VR headset and check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good.
Wow. So I walked through the art, and it sent me into a whole new experience, which was amazing. Like, I just walked right into that protopian piece, and it sent me right over to a whole new world. So we're starting to see these very interactive art gallery experiences made by collectives, by creators all over the world, that are portals and connection points between worlds, and are making that leap of faith and that leap of trust that artists make to work together very immediate for the rest of the public to experience with us. So I'm really excited to see how you have chosen to bring all of these pieces together. I was surprised that it jumped straight over from Protopia to that other experience without me telling it to do anything. It just made the leap all the way.
Sometimes we have no control. We just have
it catches us by surprise, right? So if you're familiar with the work of Monica Bielski, Monica is both a consultant and a a creative director and an art director, someone who works on concept direction specifically for like sci-fi films and for protopian visions. And so Monica's written a whole piece on what a protopian future could and should look like. And that includes some of the things we've talked about today and honoring heritage and ritual and going beyond the conversation of sort of diversity and inclusion to think about how we honor the earth, how we honor each other in flow from one minute to the next, and then how we create together as well. So you can see that some of this, like this here, is a interactive. You can walk through and it'll take you over to that world as well.
Beautiful.
And then we're back out.
Beautiful.
I love how this navigates really easily. Art renews people. Serena, this is you.
Yeah, this is just a little icon for just a network that I'm working on Hilo, which is another open source amazing platform for networking, and it's just intend to let people that works from in the field of theater arts and performing arts to connect and actually have a space to chat and to hopefully find collaboration with people that are deeply committed into the ecological topics and into the very important idea of making even opera fields more sustainable, because lots of CO2 emissions are produced at every production and every opera and every from every theater. So trying to connect this kind of field of work.
So this is a community that it focuses on the sustainability and renewable energy side of the creative endeavor.
Yes, exactly. In the field of theater, opera, and art, because I'm a set designer and I try to find collaborators that are committed in this direction, but it's very difficult to find them. So this is my idea, to just have a place to chat and to share ideas.
Well, as Brian was saying earlier, the movements toward working in WebXR and working in virtual production in places like Unity or Unreal Engine can be a sustainability solution as well for those who are seeking to create once and then publish with communities all over the world with less friction and less waste potentially as well. So it's interesting how the technology and open source side of this conversation meets the how do we do our best work together with as little friction and as efficiently as possible. So
yes. Because like for example, for every opera production, there's always like a meeting a month before in the theater, and people from abroad travel, take planes just to go and visit the theater. Well, if you could have like a 3D model and like a 3D experience of a visit of a theater, we can just see fix problems with just a Wi-Fi from everywhere we already are, without needing to take a plane and move people to another place just for a little check.
Correct. And this is exactly what's happening already with theme parks, with digital twins and the sort of spaces that are connected between the immersive, the XR world, the VR world, what we see in our headsets, and the physical world, and things like holograms or other types of emerging immersive displays too. We talked about domes and other types of ways in which we might experience these things physically and not just digitally down the line. These are fascinating. So this is a beautiful piece. I love the eagle. All right. So we've seen eagles and condors. We've got so much joy in this experience here. So this is the protopian world. We have been to Interbeing. We went to Regenera to start, and we went to the Invisible Visible, which are 4 of the Museum of Regenerative Art experiences. Now, if you want to get in and see more of this for yourself, you're going to need to get a ticket to Regenera Rising. I'll go ahead and put that link back up for us now so that we have it. And I'll just go ahead and pull this out for a moment, just so anyone who might be catching this and who wants to check those things out can certainly do that. This is going to be live through, I believe, the end of April, but some of these sites do get archived and you are able to experience them afterward as well. So hopefully you can get in there to check it out.
Well,
Our,
according to the technology of the Hoover Dam, we'll be gone 100 years. The power will still be on, so this stuff might still exist after we're gone.
oh, you're talking about legacy tech now. Whoa.
Yes. What was that? I forget the show on National Geographic. It was something about after humans. It was what a great show. Such a great show.
Haiku in motion. Wow, these are fascinating pieces. I want to come back over to this one that you gave us before. Now we are back at the transformation. Are you seeing that?
Not yet.
All right,
magic.
Let's get it back. So sorry about that. That's me needing to add things to the stream a little bit more effectively. All right, to the transformation. So this is what we saw in the video earlier, and I was hoping that maybe you could tell us a little bit of how this came together creatively as a collaboration. Could you tell us just a little bit of how you went through the process of taking what was a book and making it into an immersive exhibit?
Initially, the thing that got me to working on this was the story, because story was related with the transformation for the world, but not just general transformation, but personal transformation, and transformation through struggles maybe, and maybe trauma too. So that was a big part of the idea of why are we doing this. And then the characters were already created and story too. So the first thing was to create a little more action for them, right? So we took some of the parts of the paintings, for example, here, and divide them, but give them like different movements, and so they kind of created composition with the elements. We just break the paintings, right? And her story was the solids were part of the story as well, right? So the next step was just finding textures for it, and Della and her husband, they had a few pieces that were made with water paintings, right? A technique that it's more like fluid. So we realized that that was a good texture for everything. And when we were like putting everything together, it kind of worked because, of course, she's a great artist, and but the kind of paintings that she creates is really a fluid one, so it kind of worked together. And then we also include some of the ideas of spherical thinking and Buckminster Fuller ideas of structures, so we kind of mix that. So these shapes are based on those solids, but not are expressed in a way that it's more organic, right? More related with actual organic stuff, and also the way that these tensions work in these geometries, right? So it was a great mix, and that was something that was learned through the process of the cohort too. And at the end part of this, Stropic came in, which was great because he has a lot of understanding of these elements of geometry, and through his music, he kind of expressed that too. So we kind of put everything together, and it worked magically. That's really how it happened. It's just uh, the we were thinking and talking about the same elements, and also we saw that it's not the only project that had this kind of symbols. It's a universal thing, right? It's present in different cultures. The shapes are understood in different ways, so it was really not difficult to find meaning between those things. And then um, we went to the process of create the animation. which was pretty much just an extension of the book. And yeah, I think that the part that changed was that we moved the story to more intergalactic scenario, right? And try to give a little more essence of global community to it. So I think we got to good result, and in reality, the technical process was not that complicated. I would say the artwork, it's a great part of this. It's the shapes are pretty simple compared with other things that you could see there in that world. It was just the merging of the shapes and the organic textures.
Right, because you're dealing with a 3D model, and then you've got this animated element in the center, which you built separately. I would take it in Blender or something along those lines.
Yes, it was
Yeah,
just
the animated
image
centerpiece. And Della, could you tell us, what is it like to see the book and the art in this form?
I think Della may have dropped by accident.
Uh-oh,
Yeah,
I
I
suspect
forces of the
that did
interwebs.
happen. And let me
could-
see. I think I can bring her back in, and
there
that
you
will
go.
make it a lot easier for her to participate. Sorry about that,
That was my
Della.
fault. Yeah, it was totally like a dream come true to see this happen in an animation. I have had animated dreams for decades, and I have dreams and I wake up and I see a whole animated film. So to actually see one of my stories become an animation was just like, as I say, a dream come true. I have I guess it's just a wonderful thing that my mother was an artist, and she taught me how to paint with the elements. So we paint, my husband and I both use the techniques, painting with plants, painting with ice, painting with snow, painting with water, painting with, the wind. And so all of those ways of painting, like this painting is actually one of my husband's painting that was done with a painting that we were taught called ocean painting, and it creates the feeling of water and space because of the way that it's done. But I've done that all my life, and those paintings, all of a sudden, with Julian's help, they became an integral part of. They're on the geometric forms, but they give an essence of the elements, right? Because this painting, when you see this painting, it looks like outer space, actually. And so it was exciting to be able to help those paintings be used. Buckminster Fuller, of course, has had a great influence in my life, and from a very early age. And so I used Fuller's quotes in the book of Star Galaxy. For instance, with the transformation storyteller, is his quote about the butterflies. He says, "There's nothing in a caterpillar to say it will become a butterfly." Well, each one of the storytellers is also connected to something that Buckminster Fuller quoted and said and believed. For instance, this one, which is representing peace, and it was Buckminster's quote about we should not use our technology for weaponry, but for livingry. This is actually what this peace storyteller also says in taking peace action. So there's many things involved. It is evolved over a time period, but Julian just picked it up like this. So it's really beautiful. Yeah.
I heard that Bella said it was like a dream to see these things. For me, it was also a dream to be able to use those skills to bring story that could create some change. That's something that
Right.
I will say it's really valuable for me too.
Yeah.
Well, I am struck with the dynamism and the organic nature of these pieces in particular. They're just, the texture is so rich. You can feel like you can touch it. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a beautiful contrast to everything else that's, sort of glossy and digital looking. And then you have this, very high touch, high organic kind of experience next to it. So I love that contrast as a way to think about our relationship between nature and the digital world, and to help people maybe rethink how they want to play with these things in their own creative work.
I think that I discovered, interestingly, I think the reason it looks that way is because they're hand painted.
Yeah, and you see
No?
brushwork and texture and flow, and that sort of flow state comes through.
Yeah, it comes through. Interestingly, when we started putting stuff up, we created Topia first, Julian and I together. And we started that in November. So it's a lot of months involved. But when we first started putting up the images, I was doing some of the paintings for the Topia Star Galaxy in Mexico. And Julie and I were communicating daily from Mexico. And when I started putting up some of the images of the paintings, I thought, the textures are just, you see the paint, the paint doesn't come off as one solid color. It comes off as, and that's when I realized that was part of the impact, was the hand painting. I don't know. I felt that. Did you feel that, Julie?
Absolutely. It looks totally different without the texture.
Yeah, it looks different. We really noticed it in Topia. Yeah. And here too, actually.
I'm glad you kept as much of that hand-painted look and feel as possible. That is a choice that you made, and I think it really works.
I mean, in a way, some of them are a bit crude, but it's sort of an interesting story, because when I first started writing this story was Miracle Galaxy, and it was actually started 20 years ago. And it's when I had cancer, and I had to figure out a way of surviving. And fortunately, the government of Canada, British Columbia, gave me a grant to do storytelling. And I created Miracle Galaxy, which has got Angels of Healing. And when COVID came, I realized, oh my God, this is a story for the world, and shifted that into Star Galaxy. So it's not only a story of transformation personally for myself, but giving it to the world. It becomes for everyone, right? The Star Child is every child. It's kind of like the way things develop sometimes. And then to top it off, sometimes you just don't know why things happen. You think, why did that happen? When I had drawn all the pictures of the storytellers, I then had an accident in Bali, and I broke my femur, and I could not walk any longer. That was a couple of years ago. And I thought, oh my God, I've got all these paintings to do, and I can't walk, I can't feed myself, I can't do anything. And I realized that, as the anthropologist Margaret Mead said, the way that she found out that a civilization had become civilized is when she found some of the femur bones had broken and the people were taken care of. Well, compassion comes in a big way, and I learned that. And I had to sort of go through that before I did the final paintings for Star Galaxy, actually. So there's a whole process, right? There's always a process with an art project, but that all happened before joining the Design Science Studio and having the privilege to meet people like Julian and Stroopy and Brian and Serena and all of you.
All of you. We have just a few minutes left. I was wondering if there are any other installations that you want to tell us about, or that you want to check out while we have some time together.
That's really neat. The one that you just went by, the turquoise dome, because this woman has a great affinity for trying to make sure that the African heritage is established. And so she tells stories about this, and it's very beautiful. Evoking Belonging, it's called. Her name is Diane
The Ubuntu sphere, and Ubuntu being a word that is a word of connection, and without you, I do not exist, which is an invitation to connection as well. It is a recognition that we are interconnected and always interconnected as well. So Diane Regisford, aka Empress Evoke, did this work, I believe.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Excellent.
There's something about the surrounding blue that you can enter there too. It's kind of experiencing
Ubuntu sphere.
Yeah.
this different
Yes.
steps.
It's
Yes, they wanted to like people approach the sphere into this channel of water. So we ended up creating this kind of tube around it. So when you enter, you just feel like you clean yourself, and you just the voice ask you to take off your shoes, and then you start the experience. Yeah, this is the big of the problem, having a word that you can explore 100%.
I love that it reminds me of my old work with crystals and water patterns in Second Life, maybe 17 years ago. It's got this very like mix of natural patterns with a scape of sorts, and an invitation and welcoming people inside something. I feel like each of these has got its own sort of story mode, and we could come in and tell stories with each of them, make videos. Maybe some of you want to. It looks like there's an NFT exhibit as well. I guess, is that part of the show, or this is?
It's on the left. There's a little island. If you go there on the left. Yeah.
Oh my. I see. So we've got, wow, there's all sorts of stuff going on here. So there's the NFT exhibit, which is a gallery specific to this artist. But then there's a larger NFT exhibit as part of this show, correct?
There was a global impact. What was he was speaking 2 days ago? I think I forgot his name on the cohort. He's doing something with the planting trees, creating NFTs from them.
right.
I actually have another friend. Ironically enough, I have another friend. His name is Chetan, doing a very similar thing where they use the blockchain to create NFTs, which these funds then go to help offset carbon gas off gas. Actually, on a side note, if anyone is interested, at 7 o'clock Pacific, we will be doing an event in AltSpace where we discover the beauty of leveraging NFTs for the creative industry. And I've been hosting it with a friend of mine, if anyone's interested in that. But let me see if I can remember the cohort member while you all continue.
We're going to step in the dream tree while we take a moment. Chetan was working on Avatree, I believe, or something similar to that name. I may have mistaken that name, but specifically around tree planting NFTs. I remember that.
Yeah, we're having him as an interview today at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, he's someone I've known a very long time, and good to see those works coming to light.
You know something really powerful about what he did? It's very interesting too. There was an NFT show in San Francisco, and he was in the same show as Beeple and Android Jones.
Yeah. Well, Android has been one of our collaborators as well for many years, and came out of this community as well, as far as, extended networks of collaborators who all work together. Oh, wow. Serena, this is you.
Yeah, this is part of Protopia. It's a little terrace because this was the first design idea for Protopia, but then we move more on the different kind of ideas and again out of the box design. But I like these little elements, and I kept it as a little terrace to the sunset that is all around this world.
I love this terrace and how it goes into this sort of dreamy colorscape with the sky and everything. Serena, what is your design background? What is your training, and how did you come from? Were you a graphic designer or a painter?
no painter. Like it's very mixed because I started like studying industrial design, and in the studying period I did like industrial design, but also graphic design. And then I took 1 year of Erasmus where I started studying theater, and then I do a master in science and techniques of theater. So now I'm technically a set designer and I work as a set designer, but I kept interest in everything else. So I keep trying to improve my skills in all of those fields because I found them like even 3D and all the animations and all the other things that can be achieved in the 3D world are just like so important when we go back into theaters as well.
Right. And some of these will become hybrid experiences. I know Harlan quite well, and Harlan builds these are as physical installations as well as digital ones. And I know some of you also do connected experiences between the physical and the digital world. Serena, is that changing how you design these spaces now?
Well, it's more about trying to provoke the theater field right now because it's very hard, like to combine things. It's very hard to bring theater-minded people into a 3D world, but there's so much that can be done to have a hybrid pair, like working with projection, with like interactive design, with sensors. Like having a bit of a addiction to what normal theater have now, and doing that in with the intent of saving resources and energy, I think is the direction that we need to take right now. So I just talk about these things more, and I try in my project to bring this to.
You know, Serena, there are some folks that we are mutually all connected with that do immersive theater and virtual reality. And I think your mind would be blown by what they've done, actually given people the opportunity to be in an avatar and be part of the show as a side character, where they improv the whole entire thing in a really fantastical world of imagination. So if you ever wanted to touch base on something like that, that could be a whole other session. It's just really interesting what they're doing with immersive theater. I'm sure Ivo has
Totally,
to speak about that.
Yeah,
Well,
totally. I love to, and like I started like, yeah, go, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I just like, yes, I just love this field and I would love to like go in this direction, but at the same time I'm working on what like normal theater is still kind of not attempting, so more about like introducing theater people into this new thing than trying them myself.
Let's convert them all to be transmedia artists. Transmedia, it's the word of the now. It's everything. They all combined. Transmedia artists, transmedia storytelling.
Well, we're going to be wrapping up in just a few minutes, so I'm going to stop our screen share for now. But this is the beginning of a look at the whole thing. The green sphere that we looked at the end, I believe, was Susan's piece. If I'm right, Susan is a colleague of mine from the augmented reality side of the world, and I love how the Design Science Studio and this whole cohort, now 2 years going, has become a great place to connect with people who are like-minded, even if you've never met, like Brian and Serena here today, like Della and Julian have connected over this past year. I hope that you will continue to reach out and strive to connect with any of the ideas or the artists that you are encountering in these Regenera broadcasts. Now, this is the first of 2 art tours that we're going to do. Today's Metaverse Art Tour was specifically to New Art City, what we call the Museum of Regenerative Art, or MORA. But tomorrow we're going to dive in and we're going to look a little bit at Topia, and then we're going to go to Alt Space. And Brian, actually, do you want to give us a little bit of a preview on what we'll see tomorrow in Alt Space?
I can actually do that. I have a video if you want me to share. Hold on one second.
Oh yeah, go ahead and pull up your vid, and we
Let's
can
see
share
if I
a
can
little bit, and then we'll take a moment to say goodbye to everybody.
If I can do this here. The Brave Tev. Okay. You all see the screen? I think I have audio.
Bringing it in.
Yes.
Ready?
Go for
Tell
it.
me when you're ready.
Yep. This is gorgeous, Brian. So we are seeing Unity Sanctuary. Is that correct?
This is correct. This is what we'll start tomorrow in my tour part.
That's gorgeous. So we're seeing Alt Space, which is going to be the second part of the art tour tomorrow. We will be going through both Unity Sanctuary and some of your other installations, as well as the extended creator community and what some of these pieces look like. I love this, Brian. I'm gonna make sure. That's beautiful, Brian. So that is the larger Unity Sanctuary that we saw the brief piece of. We're going to go inside Unity Sanctuary tomorrow, along with a number of other projects for the second part of this Metaverse Art Tour. And let's just take a moment to say goodbye from all of us here at the Design Science Studio, Regenera Rising, and give some special thanks to all of our colleagues at the Buckminster Fuller Institute and have virtual. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to? Any of your collaborators whose work we saw today?
Oh, thanks everyone. That's part of the Design Science Studio. Everybody has contributed.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, everyone, and the patience of everyone is just like something so big and so infinite that we can build everything with it.
Yeah.
Well, if you are interested in checking out the work of the Design Science Studio, you can take a look at the link that I'm going to put right here, bit.ly, Regenera Rising, and you can hop in and grab your own tickets to this experience. We're going to go out with a little bit of a video, and I just want to thank you all for being with us today. Della, Julian, Serena, Brian, thank you for joining us for Metaverse Art Tour 1, and thank you for joining us today. This is Eva Haining, and thank you for joining us today. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.